Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's talk about data staging or staging area. So data staging is intermediate storage and transformation layer where we transform data before we load into Power BI desktop. So it's just a temporary storage or intermediate storage between the data source and the Power BI desktop. So let's see how it works practically. When we do it practically, it's more it's better than explaining by 1,000 words. So data storage, we've said it's an intermediate storage and transformation layer where data is stored temporarily and then transformed before it's being loaded into Power BI. So let's try to create a dataset, and then we see how it will work with us within the data storage. So the first column here is for years, then we have months. So here we have January, we have Feb, then we have March. So you want to have the period up to December. So here we'll start with the year 2011 up to maybe 2024, or this should be 2012. So you want to create years from 2011 to 2024. Then now here we'll create random cells. So these are sales figures for every month. So you want to create random cells between 20,000 to 45,000. So here we'll say is equal to random between. So the lowest figure should be 20,000 and the highest figure is 40,000. So we'll copy this to all the years and all the months. So these are just random cells, and then let's reduce the decimal places. And then after creating the random cells, let's copy them and paste special to avoid the changes when we click any cell. Space special. So now we just have figures. Then we also create we make this a table. So Control T. So now we have yearly cells, and we want to use this in explaining what is staging area is all about, or what data staging is all about. So let's go to so this has been saved. It's been saved within some file. So let's go to our Power BI desktop. So first we need to connect to the data source. So we'll go here to Home tab, then connect data, Excel workbook, because our data is within Excel workbook. So it was yearly sales. So we pick this workbook for yearly sales, then open. Then I think it should be table. I'm not so sure if this is table 1 or table 2, but let me just click table 2. So that's the preview, because we want to temporarily store this data within our Power BI application, or within the Power Query. So we'll click transform. So this will take us to Power Query editor. So that's where we'll do the data staging, or the staging area. Then from here now we have our table. So this is the query, table 2. This is the preview, and then we also have on my right hand side the applied steps under the query settings pane. So to create a staging area, we'll first let me try to create a folder for staging the data. So I'll right click here, then have here I want to create a group, a new group. So this is staging area, then click OK. So we have staging area. So we've said data staging. The whole process of data staging is to have intermediate storage, where you bring in the various data sources, and then you can clean the data. You can extract some data from the various data sources, and then you can also consolidate data from various data sources to have a complete data set. And then you can also have some data validation, and then you can also isolate the original data sets from the transformed data. So within the staging area, we'll have a separate folder for staging the various data from various data sources, and then we'll also have a different a folder for having the transformed data. So first we have the staging area. So this is the original data. So let's assume that maybe the data was so huge within this table 2. So what we need to analyze is just an extract a small portion of the data set. So loading the whole of this data into Power BI will be unnecessary, because it will not optimize the process of our data analysis. You only need a small extract of the data from this table 2 to be analyzed. So we don't need the whole data. So loading the whole data from table 2 will be unnecessary, and it will not optimize the process of our data analysis. So what we'll do, we'll first disable. Okay, fine. Before I disable, let me show you what we need to do first. So I will duplicate this. I will right click and duplicate this. So I want to extract the duplicate. I want to extract rather this duplicate is what I want to transform, maybe clean, or if we had various tables, maybe I want to consolidate the tables. But here we only have one table of which I've duplicated, so I want to transform this table and then load it into Power BI. So first I've created a duplicate, but now this duplicate I want to transfer it to a group called transformed data. So I'll move it to a new group. Here we'll call this transformed queries. Transform queries and transform data is one and the same, and I'll click OK. So now we have staging area, which has the raw data, and we also transformed queries, of which is data that has been transformed. So I can rename this tab to transformed query. So transformed query 1, because we can have various queries for various data analysis. So in this transform query, I want to transform it. So first I will unpivot these monthly sales. I want to unpivot these columns. So I will select from January up to December. Then I can right click on any selected area, then come down here and click on pivot columns, or I can go to transform tab. Then under transform tab you have various commands for table, any column, text column, number of columns, and then we also have date and time column. But I want to unpivot the column, so I will come here where we have any column, then I'll come to the command for the drop down commands for unpivot columns. So I just want to unpivot the columns, the selected columns that is. So I will click unpivot columns. So now you can see we have 3 columns as opposed to 13 columns. I will change this attribute to months, and again I will change the value here to sales. And then after this I also want to extract, or I want to filter out some months that some years that I don't want to analyze. So I want to analyze from 2011 to 2015. So I will filter out the years 2016 to 2024. So I will come here and deselect all first. Then I will select 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015. So I only want to analyze from 2011 to 2015. Then I will click OK. So now you can see we have 3 columns and 60 rows down here. But if I cancel or undo this applied step, the last step, you'll see we have 3 columns and 168 rows. The 168 rows means we have quite a lot of data. So we only want the years 2011 to 2020, or rather 2011 to 2015. So this is what we have. So if this is what we want to analyze, we are supposed to load this into Power BI desktop, as opposed to loading the whole data set. So for us not to load this table 2, we need to right click this table 2 here, and then untick enable load. So we don't want it to load, so we will untick this enable load. So after unticking, we have the italicized text table 2, and this other transformation is still enabled. So when we right click, you can see it is enabled. When we right click on table 2, the enable load is disabled. So now we'll go to home tab, and then click this command for close and apply, so that we can load the dataset into our Power BI desktop for further analysis or for creating the visuals. So let's apply changes. So now you see what has been loaded is transformed query 1, but not table 2. But when we go back, let me just try to go back. Let me click this. I want to go back to Power Query Editor, and then click transform data. So I want to enable load in table 2. Let me enable load. So it is enabled. So let's try and click the command for close and apply. We see what happens. So now you can see we have both table 2 and transformed query 1 being loaded into Power BI desktop. But this is not what you want, because maybe you just want to analyze a portion of the extract from table 2. So loading the whole table 2 and transformed query 1 will be unnecessary, because it will not optimize the process. It will slow down our analysis process or the application process when we are doing the data analysis. So we need to we need to just to stage table 2 within the Power Query, as opposed to loading it to Power BI desktop. So let's again go back to transform data. Then we'll disenable, we'll untick enable load. So the whole data set will not be loaded to the Power BI desktop. So we'll only have transformed query 1 loaded. Yes, so now we only have transformed query 1 loaded. So this helps in optimizing the process of our data analysis, because we don't load the whole or the huge data set within Power BI desktop. So again, let me just try to show you the benefit of doing this as well. So here we've just extracted data from table 1, and then we've only loaded a transformed query 1 to the Power BI desktop. So what if we do changes within our original data set that was loaded to the Power Query? So this was the original data set. So this is the data source. So let's try to change some figures within this data set. So first, let's do a summation of what we have within each and every year's sales. So that's 2011. We want it up to we want sales from January to December. So let's total all this up to 2024. So you can see 2014 we have 39. So let me just try to make it more visible. So 2019 we have 2014 we have 390. I think this should be the highest. So what I need to do, I want to change figures in 2015. So before that, let's just try to go back to our Power BI desktop and do a visual. We see if the changes will reflect within our Power BI, rather within our visual. So I'll come here and go to Home tab. Then where we have the visualizations, I want to use this one for stacked column chart. So I want to create a visual. So I will drag a year. The year failed and drop under the x-axis well. Then the cells failed also. I will drag and drop under the y-axis well. So this is the visual that we have. Apparently we have January to 2015 and 2014 being the highest number of sales that we have. But let me just try to add the let me add the data labels. So these are the labels. So sales by year. So we have 2014 is 0.39, meaning 390 million, or rather 390,000. So let's try to change the original data. We want to change. Let's assume we had some errors in our sales in 2015. So I need to add some little bit of sales in 2015. I want to make it around 450,000. So this I will make this one to be 32. This one I will make to 31. Then this one here 26, 33. This one I will make to let's say 41. So we have 403,000 for the year 2015. So let's save this. So this is the original data source, the main data source, the Excel workbook. So when I go back to my Excel, rather my Power BI desktop, I will refresh. So I'm trying to refresh all that the data also need to be refreshed. So let's see what happens. So you can see now 2015 you have 0.4 million, meaning 400,000. So that means that even if we from the staging area, let me just take you back to staging area. So within the staging area, it means that when the original the raw data or the original data has been updated, it means that even the transform data also get updated. So the applied steps will work efficiently even if we change values within the original data source. So they will be refreshed, and our visuals will also be changed to reflect what has been changed within the original data source. So the main key features for staging area is that it is an intermediate storage. So we store the raw data before we transform. We also use it for data cleaning and transformation. So we can have an extract of the original data, and then we transform, we clean before we use it for data analysis. Then we also use it for consolidation, so we can merge the various data sets that we have staged in staging area. So we merge them so that we can use them in data analysis. Then we can also use it for data validation. So here we'll validate data before we load into Power BI desktop. Again, we also use it for isolating data. So the original data set is here, table 2, and the transformed data is transformed query 2. So we can isolate the raw data from the transformed data, such that we can also reuse the original data set when we are doing different analysis. So it helps when we, instead of loading the whole data set into Power BI, you only load a portion of what you want to analyze. So the key benefits here is that it helps in performance optimization. It also helps in data consistency. The model has consistent data. So the data, because we are having applied steps being applied in and transforming data, and they're not changing, and the data will be consistent. Then it also helps in reusability, meaning when we have a huge data set, but you want to do various data analysis that are not the same, we can reuse the same data set to have some portions of extract of data to do different analysis. It also helps in error detection, so we can fix issues before loading data into Power BI desktop. And then it simplifies the model design. The model design is simplified by the staging area. So that was all about a staging area. So we've seen the key features, and we've also seen the benefits. So let's stop at that. So when we come back, we'll talk about something else. We'll talk about data profiling. So we'll learn what data profiling is all about in the next class. So thanks a lot for watching, and let's meet again on the next class.